Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Hi, I'm Paul Duchesne. Welcome to Mama Paul's video podcast. That first line I just read you was the opening line to a little aphorism or a poem that was given to me. It was a handout at a soy conference I went to many years ago, and I'll put a copy of the whole thing up here right now, and that's the whole piece, and we'll just read it. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination are omnipotent. The slogan, "Press on," has solved and always will solve the problem of the human race. So this was a little piece, and this is the actually original copy I have. And this was given, this was a handout at a conference I was at back in the, probably around 82, 83, 84. I had created Wildwood Natural Foods, and I had started with a brown rice tofu sandwich. As a result of the tofu in the sandwich, I built the tofu shop. But what we started with was a brown rice and tofu sandwich. And I was wrapping the rice and tofu and the beans and vegetables with this chapati bread. It was a flat tortilla kind of bread from India. They called it a chapati bread. And it was made by a company called Garden of Eatin. And Al Jacobson was in charge of the company. I had quite a few phone calls down to Al over the years. And he was a little Jewish guy in Los Angeles who had like a tiny little office, about 150 square feet. And he would dream up products, and then he would find somebody to manufacture them, and he would find a designer to do the label on, and he would put this together, and he would direct the manufacturing and the distribution of the products, but he didn't actually manufacture or distribute anything himself. He was just directing the whole thing. But he had quite a few products that he was creating. He was a very creative guy, but he wasn't very successful. In spite of the fact that I was using his bread and a lot of people were using his bread, and he had a lot of his products were out, he wasn't that successful. Well, there was a soy conference. We had in 81, 2, 3, and 4, we had these soy conferences going on. And Al was invited to be one of the guest speakers at the conference. At which point he gave a class about how to get a business started and run it. And part of his class was giving out this little aphorism or poem. I'll repeat it one more time. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Genius will not. Education will not. Persistence and determination are omnipotent. The problem of the human race is solved when we all press on. Press on. Be persistent. So Al was a really persistent guy. So he's down in LA there, and he's not, like I said, he's not real successful. Well, somewhere about 3 or 4 or 5 years later, somewhere about the mid-80s, maybe 86, 87, somebody passes through Los Angeles, and they've got a truckload of blue corn. Well, up till that point, nobody had used blue corn for hardly anything. It wasn't a popular item. So the guy's got the truckload of blue corn. He's going through LA, and he's trying to find somebody to buy the corn to offload it. And nobody wants it. None of the chip makers want it. None of the grain grinders want it. Nobody wants it. So he hears about Al Jacobson. He goes visits Al, and Al says, "Hey, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll make some corn chips with that." So he calls up a corn manufacturer, and the guy pulls up, and they manufacture the corn, and they turn it into blue corn chips. There they are, Garden of Eatin blue corn chips. Well, up till that point in time, there had been no blue corn chips anywhere in America. Well, suddenly Al puts out the blue corn chips, bada bing. Immediately successful, hugely successful. I've been going to the natural food shows every year, and I was on the phone with Al in between. Well, I go to the one of my last natural food shows back in the late 80s, and Al Jacobson is now there, and he's got 3 MBAs working for him at the front of his booth. It turns out he's got a football-sized field warehouse where they're storing all the chips and everything. So he goes from being a 150 square foot broker to running a company with, like I said, he's got at least 3 MBAs. He's got a full booth at the Natural Food Show, and he's got a warehouse size building where he's storing his material. So Al was a perfect example of persistence. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence, and Al showed us quite well that persistence wins through. So that's it for the day. Short story about Al Jacobson. Peace, patience, and persistence. See you soon.